Hello, my fellow Extraordinary Americans. I'm Samaddar, and this is Extraordinary America. What is Extraordinary America about? You see, American identity is about freedom, the opportunity for a better life, and the pursuit of happiness. Welcome to Extraordinary America. For today's guest, we have Richard Blank. Richard's vision quest journey is filled with twists and turns. At 27 years old, he relocated to Costa Rica to train employees for one of the larger call centers in San Jose. With a mix of motivational public speaking style backed with tactful and appropriate rhetoric, Richard shared his knowledge and trained over 10,000 bilingual telemarketers over 2 decades. Richard has the largest collection of restored American pinball machines and antique Rockefeller jukeboxes in Central America, making gamification a strong part of CCC culture. He is the Chief Executive Officer for Costa Rica's Call Center since 2008, which has grown to over 150 employees. He was a keynote speaker for Philadelphia's Abington High School 68 National Honor Society induction ceremony. In addition, he has entered into the 2023 Hall of Fame for Business along with other famous alumni. Paying it forward to Abington Senior High School is very important to Mr. Blank. As such, he endorses scholarship each year for students that plan on majoring in a world language at the university level. He's an extraordinary American, and I'm glad and honored to have him on the show. Richard, are you there?
I am here and so happy to be with you and your audience and to share ideas. And I appreciate that incredible introduction on your part.
Thank you so much, Richard. And Richard, thank you so much for being here as well. Could you tell me and the audience a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got started, and your story in general?
Absolutely. I'm a long shot from Northeast Philadelphia. Instead of following in certain family footsteps academically and through certain traditions, I decided to go a different path. I was a Spanish major, not a financial major. I didn't go Ivy League. I went to the University of Arizona. And when you do things outside of the classroom, there was a lot of dedicated practice, speaking Spanish with friends, watching movies, reading, volunteering my time in Tucson, Arizona for certain organizations where I could use these skills. Post grad, I landed a couple jobs because of the language, but when I was 27 years old, I was given a 1 in a million opportunity to move to Costa Rica and work at a friend's call center for just a couple months. I built on that momentum, moved here, learned the business from the inside out. 17 years ago, started it myself. And here we are today. And so, when something drives you, it could be through art or any other sort of medium. But for me, it was languages. All the world was a stage. I just didn't have to be somewhere, download, or have something with me. I could always interact and get that positive reinforcement. And since it was something outside of my immediate family, not my great grandparents that learned English coming from Europe at the turn of the 20th and building their business, it just skipped a couple generations, but it was in my blood. And I let them know, even though you can't understand it, I'm on a vision quest here. And no one has a blueprint to be a CEO of a call center. Most people hate telemarketers, but I wanted to shatter some misconceptions and see if I could sprinkle some happy dust on this industry and make it a little bit different.
So, Richard, what was the strategic vision and goal you had, which took you from America to Costa Rica, and and what is the evolution of that vision over from the this time you went there to like what it is now?
Of course. You ever look outside and wish you could go out and play? Well, what do you do when given the opportunity? And I knew this, that if there was something in my life that could shed some skin, give me a new experience, or open my eyes, I'd be foolish not to take it. And so you sometimes in life have to make selfish decisions. So I had to move 3,000 miles away from my friends and family, not utilize any sort of network and connections, starting from scratch. But I tell you what, if you do that at a certain age in life, it's a beautiful beginning. And a lot of the things that we held dear in such high esteem where I grew up and was important didn't matter here. I had to learn a new dance. And
Mhm.
so it humbles you. And I know that I had the maturity and the impulse control to enjoy this stage compared to like a 10-year-old kid being forced to go to a museum on a Sunday, doesn't appreciate the art in front of him. He's thinking about baseball with his friends. I was ready for this. And I knew that if I took this opportunity to the max, what do you mean by that? Losing sleep. I'm talking about staying up late, waking up early, and being on such adrenaline you're not tired. Learning the art of introduction. So you have no problem meeting 100 people that day. Forget small talk. This is deep talk. You can have amazing 5-minute conversations with people. What does this do? It builds character. So you're not in the same circle every day and you're comparing yourselves to the people you grew up with, which is fine, but you never tested other waters. My friend, I wanted to see if I had essence in life, and it wasn't about money. I wanted to see if I could drink life a little bit and have a hero's journey. Something where if I looked in the mirror at the end of the day, I'd be at least proud of the efforts. I can't compare to others. People are taller than me, run faster than me, even make more money than me. I tell you what, as Mike Damone said in Fast Times, if your toes are still tapping, then life is pretty good and you can keep moving forward. And so a lot of my mindsets were short wins, checkpoints, and then eventually you land the gold every now and again. So it's a nice pace, my friend, so you don't burn out on things like that.
So, Richard, it's a really big risk to go from an entire different, like from one culture to an entirely different culture with no networks or anything like that, and then start afresh and then just go from there and then become successful from there. So, what was like the process? What was like the mindset and the process you had that allowed you to take such a massive risk in life and then have it pay off eventually?
Being able to integrate the fact that I was a Spanish major in college and had a very strong base made it 10 times easier than any sort of tourist or gringo that was down here trying to get by. It also gave me a great way to protect myself in case people had bad intentions, or I can find the people that are a right fit for me. I also fell in love and married the girl of my dreams here. That was one of the reasons why I stayed. But what does it make you different? There's two ways you can look at it. You have a new person that enters a group, a new warrior. You hear about it all the time in these movies and stuff. It's sometimes better if they don't have bad habits and they never grew up with it. They're fresh, they're naive, they can give you a different perspective. The fact that I never worked at a center before, never was in Costa Rica before, had no idea what a CRM or anything was like that. It was fresh for me. And I didn't once again see it in a bad light like other people. I saw bilingual individuals converting calls. This shows such structure, discipline, and cognitive skills. And even if they had a slight accent, it does bear the mark of higher education. I was pretty impressed. This was the art of speech. These were linguistic masters. And so I also realized that I fit in here, that this is something that I could understand in the beginning. It made sense to me, almost like a musician that can just hear the music and just repeat it. But then I added my flavor. They needed someone from Philadelphia to teach them certain things. And I also had the advancement of grammar and vocabulary. So that was a home court advantage. It was easier for me. And by paying it forward and making suggestions in English, I got the same thing back in Spanish. And I was making very nice friends with people constantly. And so why would you want to ruin that honeymoon stage? If every day is a beautiful Saturday in your mind, why would you want to leave? And so sure, you have a plan. It could be a day, a week, a month, or a year. But if your run keeps going, why would you mess with it? You don't want to break it. And so it was really only supposed to be 60 days. It was just to take a time out, teach some English, and hang out for a little bit, go to the beach.
Mhm.
Little did we know that I learned this industry. It's almost like graduate school. Made tons of connections. And, but a lot of it has to be done organically. School can only teach you so much, and you always get disappointed in your supervisors, managers, and bosses wherever you work. You're like, man, I see 5 things we could be doing better. How come they're not doing it? And so if you are assertive and you see certain things and you suggest it diplomatically, you make a name for yourself. The owners of a company like somebody like that. And so this was a good friend of mine that owned the call center where I was working. So I wasn't in any sort of trouble. I didn't have to kiss butt or play office politics. I was protecting his back and protecting my job. And by doing so and being with the people, I kind of learned the business from the inside out. The happy and the sad and the good stuff. And I wasn't being a spy. I was learning. You learn from the people that represent and what can motivate them. And so when it was my turn, okay, to run a call center, this is my wheelhouse. I've done this. I've sat in the cubicles. I've made the calls. I can close. I can retain clients and upsell. And so
So
at least I earn the respect from the people that work with me. And they realize that I'm just balancing bikes and giving advice and things like that. And so how did it work? Just like everything else works. If you're having a great time at a party, you stay. And I was being received in such a way that was so positive. It didn't make me want to cry and go home. So
wow.
I hope that answers your question in a sense.
No, yeah, and Richard, one of the things I wanted to know is like a lot of people like would want to know like what is the business model of like a because they get calls all the time, right, from telemarketers, and then many of the times like a lot of like the calls that they get, they just like switch it off. So my
Yeah.
question to you is, how did you train your telemarketers in such a way that they are able to handle all these rejections and then continue to create a successful business?
What a brilliant question. And I love it. I can refer it in two words: romantic death. Oh, yeah, I said it. When you watch battles, sometimes your favorite character is like, yeah, and then all of a sudden his head gets chopped off. You're like, but I love that guy. Yeah, but he had a romantic death. Um, you know the percentages, unless you're given a Glengarry list, you're not going to convert 100% of the calls. Best batters can hit 400, right? And so I look at it like this: can you jump clouds? Can you master the intros? The body and the conclusion do not exist unless you anchor and get the pass to pitch. And so my suggestion, in order for this forced march, which some people might feel it is to be able to live with yourself so you don't kill yourself. So I think the greatest thing to do is to do a company name spike. Extraordinary America, how are you doing today? You reach out and you give a positive escalation. So if Judy is the gatekeeper, instead of fearing that individual, you would compliment them, let them know they're doing a great job. And when you get transferred and speak to the owner of the company, you will let them know verbally. You also do it in writing. This separates you from 1,000 other people making those phone calls and prospecting. If you do a little bit of due diligence, if you have the time, instead of just carpet bombing phone calls, you get a minute to look things up. You can leave custom made voicemails and write custom made emails. If you leave me a voicemail and mention my pinball machines or me being from Philly, you definitely got my attention. You'll get my 30 seconds of attention. It's more than enough, because then you can buy another 30 seconds, because that's our average attention span. And so it's a beautiful give and take with some pausings in the middle. You want to spike names and numbers. Those are trigger words. There are certain things called tie down questions. So at least you have checkpoints. You can say, makes sense, right? Sounds good, right? And then if someone asks you a question, the greatest thing you say is, hey, that's an excellent question. Please ask me more questions. You're making it easier for me. And I'm encouraging them to not be resistant. You ask me the question, Richard, what's ABC? That's a great question. ABC is 1, 2, 3. And what I can keep doing is readjusting the tones into a positive thing. These, my friend, are just simple soft skills you can use on and off the phone, in and out of work. And so instead of dreading what you're doing, why don't you enjoy making Judy's day? She might want lobster, all you got is steak. Nothing you can do about it. But if you can get the positive reinforcement of, Richard, thank you for calling. If we ever need steak, we'll call you. Nice meeting you. It was great meeting you. Listen, how many women have you danced with in your life? Doesn't mean you marry each one. You're allowed to spend 3 to 5 minutes with somebody in life, 2 ships in the night. What do you want to do? What I like to do, like in Al Pacino's Scent of a Woman, is to make a scene, is to make it amazing, a memory. So you remember them and they never cross the lines of decency and we're never too aggressive with you. Sure, it's charming. You're supposed to be charming. You're supposed to have your game ready. And that might seem out of the ordinary because most people have mustard on their face and they don't have game. So what do you expect me to do? As Humphrey Bogart said in The Maltese Falcon, you want me to stutter? No, we're professionals at this. And so excuse me if I am able in my metrics to extend the talk time, get through to people and convert. It's what you pay us to do, but don't pay us to lie or to sacrifice ourselves. That doesn't work and people will quit because morale will be low. There needs to be a good fit. We don't do things gray area or shady. It's got to be things we accept and feel good with. It's a strict Catholic country. But to answer your question, the way that you acted in front of your grandparents, are those that you respected so. You sit up straighter, you take your turn, you cut smaller pieces of meat. And you try to be on your super best behavior, but with a little bit of magic dust so you're interesting. And if you can do that,
Mhm.
then maybe you will become this excelled professional that can get the sort of results that you're looking for. And so that's the curse in this industry. It's given such a bad rap. But if you look at the art of speech, it's different from texting, emails, and chat. To me, I see it as a luxury. And AI will only gather for you. But you and I need that remaining 10% of empathy in order to retain a client and to close that deal. So I hope I made a very strong case in regards to choosing to be a telemarketer, a prospect, or customer service rep, because it is a beautiful thing. People want that sort of real human interaction these days.
So, Richard, one of the things that comes to my mind when I think of like telemarketers and everything is ironically the Wolf of Wall Street, like where
Yeah.
Jordan Belfort gives this script and he tells any telemarketer, hey, if you look at this script and if you do it exactly the way I tell you, if the certain inflections and here and there, then you can be successful and then you can sell any product or service. So, from my question to you is like, from your perspective, is there like a secret formula where you can sell like you can sell anything including like selling a pen, or is there like a way is there like a process or like a scripted process, or is it more of like an informal kind of thing where you attune yourself to the person you're talking to?
If I try to force the young lady to scream on the phone, like, do you remember the movie Police Academy from back in the day? There was this very timid woman that was very soft spoken, and the funny part of the movie is at the end, she screams, "Hey, put your hands up." You can't get somebody out of character because they can't hold it that long. It's 5 minutes of a language in a restaurant. It's cute, but then you can't go to France and speak, um, it's like the Justice League. We all have these skills, but you need to have a special skill. And not everything is for each person. The Wolf of Wall Street speaks to the fast speaking guy, but grandma out in, Alabama would rather speak to a soft spoken individual. But no, he's 100% correct. And I also believe in the vocabulary. I like the scene in the Wolf of Wall Street where he's working at the first place that was out of like the shopping center. I think he made a call in less than 2 minutes, and he said John's name. I believe it was 10 or 11 times in the call. And so I would break down certain things of what he was doing. And I would also watch him without sound, because you see how he's leaning, he's moving the paper, he's pumping, he's pointing, he turned around. The whole place, who's not making phone calls, which they should be doing, but that's a personal thing on me. They're watching him. So be it. He didn't miss a beat. He's supposed to be ready for that. Tiger Woods making that putt. And
Mhm.
it's so interesting. In the beginning, the guy sitting next to him looks at him like he's from Mars. And at the end, he's taking notes. It's so, and eating pizza at the desk, one guy leaning back. What's wrong with these people? You got to think about the work environment. I put that at the supervisor for not creating the action. This guy's got to bring him in. Sometimes that's the way it is. You bring in a shiny object, but no, it should have been preventative. A supervisor shouldn't have had an environment where people were looking at some guy using 10 name drops and tie downs. I mean, and he did a loud whisper, which I always enjoy. A loud whisper is very nice. It's like putting a governor on your speech. And then also, I love when you're catching the tail. The guy goes, "That could pay for my mortgage." Of course, that could pay for your mortgage, John. You always, like trapeze artists, grab, take what you said, acknowledge, move to the next. I would say he did the dance of speech. Now, why was this movie popular? Because he's making a ton of money, stocks, people like stock. There's a little bit of element of gray area, and so that's exciting. But there's a lot of people out there besides used car salesmen and stock people that are capable of selling rakes at the Home Depot, huh? Or the barber shop, convincing you to trim that stack. I mean, sales comes in all shapes and sizes. My main thing is keeping somebody's attention, but not as a clown. And does it mean you need to be more animated in certain things so you don't seem repetitive? If you have the luxury of sight, yeah, of course, you can do micro expression readings with your hands and your body and your eyes and mirror image them. Come on, we've all studied it, we know it. But you asked me the good one. What about if it's sight unseen? Come on, man, you're talking over the phone. I can't see you nodding and smiling and how good looking we are. Well, I agree with that 1,000%. And just like the master communicator, Helen Keller, with all due respect, she had her taste, touch, and smell, and also created a language, spoke to the world, and was revered as one of the most intelligent communicators of all time. She created a language, she and Anne Sullivan. And so for me, I believe that our hearing should be expanded. But then there's the theory of image streaming. Of course, your imagination, descriptive vocabulary, adjectives. I mean, I love that sort of stuff. When you decompress your stimulation on a long walk, the gym, long shower, plane ride, your mind starts wandering and you start seeing things a lot clearer. And so I've utilized storytelling, what I see, what you show on your website, to my advantage. What does this do? Buys me time, and then I can adjust accordingly. This is not $1 million advice. I'm not slicking it in there to sell a pen. I am giving a positive escalation to a gatekeeper. I'm showing excitement when I call your company. I'm properly introducing myself. We call it with a buffer boomerang technique. You would say, Richard, what's ABC? So glad that you asked. ABC is 1, 2, 3. It's very easy to half moon it and send it back so you're not surprised. And these are also techniques, my friend, where you can say to somebody, that's an excellent question. While you're looking up the answer, you can buy 2 or 3 seconds to look up the rebuttal. That's it. And it's very much in the now. And if you hear a dog in the background, that is immediate Me Too technique. I love dogs. Just don't say that. Say, what's its name? What breed? And how old's your puppy? It's never a puppy. But what are you also doing, my good friend? I am inadvertently and passive aggressively letting you know that your dog is barking. It's going to kill the call. I can't hear you. And so instead of saying, excuse me, we've replaced that by saying, for my clarification, I'll sacrifice one on that. For my clarification, was it ABC or 1, 2, 3? Because your dog's barking, kids crying, bad cell, bad music. You tell me. But it's a great way to let you know that I know that you know I can't understand you. And so, what polite rhetoric? Don't ask someone to help them. It's assist, guide, and lend a hand, depending on where you are in the process. Use military alphabet at the end because you were such an amazing, exotic name. I want to make sure I got the 2 Ds, the 2 E's, and it doesn't bounce back, you know, when I send you something. And that's all. These are beautiful bedside manner, soft skills that are transferable and you can use them and it doesn't compromise ethics. So you are centered, you're complete, and strangers become friends. And you wonder why you build a nice pipeline and people recommend you because you're not pushy. Like the other guy next to you and this guy next to you, they're too pushy. Give me some room and calm down. People don't like those sort of things.
Yeah, so Richard, a follow-up question to this is like I know you have trained more than 10,000 people in telemarketing. So what was the biggest lesson you learned during your time training all these people and or like the biggest revelation you had while doing all of this?
Just like any athlete, it's your core, it's your breathing. Most people speak twice as fast than they should, and they speak very differently on the phone than they do in person. It's, why are you talking like this? You sound weird. And so, but I try to max levels. Instead of going horizontal in a training, I'll go vertical and see if I can stack it like waiters with plates. So let's say you're in my training class, but guess what, champ? We're going in the game room first. I want to play air hockey with you, pinball, and Pac-Man. We're playing games for half an hour before I start training. Why? Why not? First, it's my company. 2, it's fun. And C, I want you to relax and make some friends, please. And then you can take notes. So then you're in class. And what we do is I'll have you stand up to role play. Why? You're practicing public speaking. And I put the script in the left, use your right for illustrators, and you better walk and move your hands slower than your speech. So it'll give you perfect pacing. Why? Because if someone asks you to repeat it, or there's crosstalk or interruption, that's on you. Got to make sure you're pacing it well, because if you slow it down, you spill less. If you're bilingual, might have a slight accent, slower and a little bit louder means they're going to understand it better. But what about this word I can't pronounce well? Every time I get to it in my script, I stumble, I think about it, I live it, I hate it. Well, good. Why don't we take the word that you can't understand and write it out phonetically? Speak first, spell second. I'll teach you how to spell it, but make sure you speak it correctly. So if you want to cross it out, write it the way you want, put in the highlight. That's a beautiful, happy shortcut bridge. Nice little detour, because I've seen one or two words kill a rhythm. That's all I think about. No, man, let's put that thing to bed real fast. Or sometimes I got to replace the word and put in something else. And so if I can address through preventative measures any sort of things to freak them out, spook the kitty, I don't know, make them where they lose their focus. I could train you 1,000 hours, but if you're in a weird mood that day, I'm just hitting the ball and dragging Johnny. It's not going anywhere. But if you're feeling good and there's wind in your sails and you got some current in your raft, you're moving, you're grooving, and it's almost wu-wei. You're moving forward without resistance. I mean, if someone's asking me questions and saying, hey, Richie, this sounds great, I'm having a wonderful phone call. Yeah, definitely call me Richie and keep asking me questions because I know I'm going to get the appointment. And you'll probably recommend 3 of your cousins. And so I love things like that. When things are grooving, you let it groove. And that's what I want people to know. They cannot be like, Gordon Belford, and they can't be like Blake and Glengarry or Vin Diesel in Boiler Room. That's not you. You should find a beautiful way to communicate and share your ideas with people. But she's soft-spoken. Yeah, but she's killing it. Look at the numbers she has on the wall. Look at her talk time. People love speaking with her. She's very assertive, but not aggressive. And so I want people to love their own voice because this is what we got. And if I can mold it a little bit and give it some timing and wait for the reaction to see where we go, then maybe we can manage this thing. And then 30 seconds turns into 10 minutes. And I tell you what, here's a good philosophy. These aren't 10-minute phone calls. These are 20, 30-second calls because it could end at any time. It's a give and a take. So how many runs do we have on this crap table? I mean, let's just keep running it and working with it until it exhausts itself. And so I try to broaden their thinking a little bit more compared to just linear thinking where they're just going in there and just taking hits. That's why people burn out and hate this industry because they lost the love for it. For me, I'm able to sidestep the rebuttals and come back, and say something very nice to, at least as I mentioned, have that romantic death. Come on, man, I said Judy's name 7 times. 7 before you hung up on me. You're like, yeah, Richie, good job. I'm like, yeah, 7 times Judy. That's how we do it. So that's the way you play a game with it, so you can laugh at it. When you make fun of yourself and you can laugh in the face of it, it just doesn't hurt anymore.
So Richard, you mentioned about the Boiler Room by Vin Diesel, and a lot of people they have seen that movie, and that's their understanding of success. You have of telemarketing success, or the Wolf of Wall Street. So, but from your perspective, obviously there seems to be you have a certain way of where we can succeed in a different way. That's more that's different. So from your viewpoint, what is the contrast between the way you're showing your telemarketing people how to do it versus the movie conceptions that people in America have about these people?
Forget telemarketing. Are you confident enough to stand up in front of 30 of your peers and recite the product or share an idea or say something positive about yourself or somebody else? So as I mentioned before, watch these things on mute. I mean, if you watch it on mute before you even know what the movie means, you got no idea what this guy's even saying. But you watch the confidence and you watch people around him in sync, nodding to him at certain points. Vin Diesel, which I liked in his scene, he was calling him Doc, called him a couple times Dr. Jacobs. He started calling him Doc. He was comfortable. Made the joke about where should we send your statements to your home or to your mansion. Funny, funny line. And there was a lot of pausing there. There was very little interruptions. The only time it wasn't an interruption, it was an assistance to end a sentence or to continue the idea. Because of course you need to, it's the resistance is not the no is the infinite where they hang up on you. There's no more talking. But if someone is saying N-O, it means they don't K-N-O-W enough about what you're talking about. And so sometimes instead of belittling or making them feel bad, there's nothing wrong with not agreeing with, but understanding a position and giving your position. But what Vin Diesel was doing, and it's a manipulative tactic, is a sense of urgency. There's only 10 tickets left. You got to run and get it and pay whatever you got. But in my industry, sometimes there's a luxury of time where you can choose when you want to start and things happen. And so there are certain variables you can use to your advantage, how much you have in stock and the time and whatever's going on. But I like the fact that he was well versed. And as much as Giovanni Ribisi has 5 pages of script pointing to third paragraph under his desk, Vin didn't even need the script. And his conversation was a couple minutes compared to going through that script, which could be miles of speech. Sounds like a desert with no oasis. Man, who wants to do that? It's amazing how you can shave time, get right to the point and answer those questions. Those rebuttals is because you are not doing the right delivery, or you're saying morning, or you don't even know where you're calling. So I'm sorry, you need to, like Billy Madison, you got to start in kindergarten again. You got to begin you lost all of your momentum. You got to start, stop, and that's terrible. You should be the push off the wall, like the swimmer or the guy that jumps. Man, motivation comes and goes, but there is something inside of you that gets you to keep getting up on rainy Wednesdays. And if you can capture not a lot of it, but like swimmers do, one breath, and I can still go, and I can swim forever by taking breaths. So you need to give yourself a breath, and it's not through a converted call or making money or something like that. You need to find a way, and I don't know how, to dig in that dirt, to find some root, to take a bite so you can survive another day. Mm-hmm. And if you can find it in your own self-fulfillment by paying it forward, by complimenting them or reminding them to readjust their tone when people are calling, or when people are working with you, to listen to their calls, and instead of me telling you what you're doing, you're going to hear you. So you'll look at me and go, yeah, you're right, Richard, I interrupted, or she couldn't hear me, I should be a little louder. And you and I don't say a thing. Tilt their head and, nice, you know? And then they know. You give them a little bit of guilt, and then they know, because self-reflection is where the self-improvement comes from. I just can't keep dragging you. When you see it for that first time, guess what? Those wrinkles go away. And when you listen to calls in the future, you realize that that got put to bed. Now we can focus on yellow and brown and black belt stuff. You know, they passed 101.
Yeah.
They figured it out. And that's just more balance. Isn't that beautiful? And these are the sort of things where you know that you are sharing something that will enrich their life, because you see them more confident in how they interact and more cordial and more attentive. I'm not saying I'm going to take all credit for it, but once they start imitating some of the things you say, they're saying, hey, Richard, remember I did this. It makes you feel great. That's what we do as educators, my brothers. That's what we do.
So Richard, like, let's say there's somebody that wants to, that's starting off fresh, and they want to join the telemarketing industry and become successful as a business person, or even as a successful telemarketer. How should they go about doing it, and what's the process they should do to become successful in this field?
Building a pipeline. You'll get your cold call closes, but respect boundaries and have all the resources necessary to make a call back, to put it in the calendar. Remind yourself. Anybody can make, I tell you what, you could have somebody that's missing a shoe. And if he's making a phone call to you with all the game plan, A to Z, 1 to 3, and has everything at the ready, you'll still do business with him. Kid's prepared. So he's missing a shoe. Who cares? He follows through. And so the more preparation you have, but don't be over prepared, because I don't want you like reading me page 39 of something. That's like, as I mentioned, that thing in Boiler Room, one of the funny parts of it is showing that entire script on page 3 that he's supposed to go through?
Hmm.
Why do you think they have shortcuts? Why do you think in math class they taught you certain things or how to remember things, memory games? And so it's almost like mentalism in a sense. Don't run, but don't walk. But there's nothing wrong with hopping or skipping, or like horses trot. It's a good pace. And you could always kind of be ahead to think of where we're going with this. If someone's rubbing their tummy and licking their lips, of course they're hungry. So you can kind of smell in the wind where this is going. And there's nothing wrong with making a suggestion. You know, it's like a hypotenuse. What you're doing is just throwing something out there. And what are you going to do? It's engagement. So I think if somebody is willing to put themselves out there, make phone calls, interact with people, be responsible with contracts and people's monies and stuff, you got to really think about that. I know what your audience is thinking. They're thinking of the brand new car, the champagne, the dinners, the yachts and the plane rides and big meetings and Instagram and all that stuff. I tell you, if that's what you want, you're not going to be satisfied, because if you speak to every successful person out there, that's just what comes with the territory. The greatest moment is what they ever had is when they first started, or when they picked themselves back up, or the guy gave them their first break, you know, or when they played that concert hall with just one person and decided not to quit. It's the perseverance story. It's not the gold and the riches. Anyone can have that stuff. And I tell you what, my man, that stuff loses its luster after a while. People get bored. I mean, how many lobster dinners can you eat? And so people like myself or Elon Musk's and famous rich people, what they like to do is to see what they can do to pay it forward and be out there and not be in ivory towers. And, you know, it's very interesting who decides to spend their time where and with whom. And for me, I have the luxury of education, not just writing checks. And I can listen to people speak and make slight adjustments and get excited and have the resources and technology. And so use everything to your advantage. If it's telemarketing, then you should be focusing on those KPIs and those metrics, listening to recordings, refining your script, testing waters, listening to what other people are doing and see what works. But do not be fooled. No one is sitting by the phone with credit card at the ready in the movies. It's like anything else. It's merit based. You have to buy that time and earn that. And most people are so afraid to do this. Well, then guess what? Like this in public speaking, they fear it more than death. If you and I go into the cave and there's nobody there, then we get more gold. Who the hell wants the tons of competition like chum in the water with sharks? Who wants to live like that? And then you have to compromise ethics or work less than and have people hit you up on price and stuff. You know your worth. But this is special. We're the artists of speech. We're the last of them. It's true. We're the last painting. We're not a print. And as much as you want AI and IVRs and these things that you can put in, there's nothing better than that personal relationship. That's what retains the client. And so if I can get that sort of psychology in them to get past any sort of fear they might have of a rejection, then they'll see it like I do. They can still dance in the rain and enjoy their days and feel satisfied when you write a good script or you retain a client. I mean, it's a beautiful thing that you do. And but record yourself, seriously. And you should be listening to a lot of your own phone calls. And if you can do something like that, all you're going to do is improve your skills.
That is amazing the way you put it, Richard. And I agree with you. And Richard, I know that since 2008 you've been the CEO of your call center. Can you tell me and the audience a little bit more about that and the premise of how you got started during that time, and like what is the process and all of that?
My process is a little bit different from others, but I'll definitely share how I did it. Once again, excellent question. So what happened? I had a little bit of cash. I had the knowledge, and I was 35 years old. Time was a ticking, and I wanted to see what I could do. So I created a website in October of 2007. And by February 6th of 2008, I landed my first account. It was one seat for 1 week. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I got it. And so what could I do? I'm not sitting in this call center where I am today. Where do you go? And so in my industry, I put two and two together. There are something called blended call centers. It's like a advanced internet cafe where they would give me a turnkey station of the headset, the computer, IT support, coffee, toilet paper, but it's one big open room. Okay, it's not the greatest, but I could scale accordingly. I could just add seats, reduce, and just keep adding rooms. It's paying premium, but I did it for 2 years until I had the capital and the stable clientele. So then I went out and rented space. Okay? What I was capable of doing was purchasing used equipment because call centers and other companies go out of business. So I was able to pick up servers and routers, computers and monitors, desks, chairs for a fraction of the cost. And some of them were still in the box. They just never opened it, went out of business, garage sale. And so there I could scale row by row and accordingly. So I never overextended myself, never took out a loan or had a bad business partner. And then after 6.5 years, I had enough money and even more stable clients that I purchased property, gutted it, third floored it, art decoed it with marquees and neon lights, vaulted ceilings. And here we are today. And so slow and steady. And as grandpa said, if you can't pay for it in cash, just don't do it. There was absolutely no way I was going to let a bank take this thing away from me. And I was in no rush. I was still renting another place. I was just hedging bets, but I wanted to own my land. I didn't want to overextend, pay triple, or have the risk if there was a slight setback, literally having that bank taking that from me. I know some people do, and I'm not going to advise you how to invest in your real estate. But for me, no, I wanted to make sure, and it was a gamble because everything that came in, it was going right back into that construction. But what you gonna do in life? You're gonna dance. I was going for it, and I was betting on me, which to me was a great bet because I have consistency and I was working my tail off. And so I was responsible. And look what happened. Now I feel like the three little pigs, but I'm the pig with the brick house. Literally bricks behind me. And so no matter what, I can't get thrown out. One day I can rent her out. And maybe this is a testament of your hard work. You finally do have a castle at the end. And I was being responsible in regards to paying rent, especially the size that I have. Imagine how much rent I'd be paying. So I made that money back in spades. And so who teaches you this stuff? I don't know, my man. It seemed like common sense to me. I know that some people could have talked to me about percentage rates and banks and other things. I don't feel comfortable with that. I didn't get the warm fuzzies. And so, I might not be that financial or economic genius, but dude, if you play with Legos, you can still build things. And I did things very simply, the old school way. I paid my taxes, paid the people, made a margin, saved the money, reinvested it, had some fun. And that's okay. Don't you dare try to impress others with a huge showroom if it doesn't make sense. And at the end of the day, you're the one cleaning up the mess. What a waste of money. Because sometimes you need it. In 2010, I lost my largest client. I went from like 90 seats down to 4. Nice. But the interesting is those 4 people didn't quit. And I was able to build my business back to 150 now. But am I happy that happened? No. But if there's a great time to show character during chaos and really look in your own eyes and ask yourself, do we continue or do we quit? What a weird time. But I said, let's keep going. See what happens. Look what happened. And so looking back, oh yeah, man, you made the right decisions. You weren't with me at that time. Neither were my friends. I felt very alone. What do? You realize that tomorrow we shall die and you have a beautiful life. And if you've gotten to this point so far because of this, and I'm not talking about luck and snake eyes, I'm talking about freaking hard work, grinding it out, resilience and foundation. Richard Blank. Well, then I say, go one more round, buddy. Let's see what happens. Look what happened. So I'm so happy it happened. I don't know, but each one of us has our moments of darkness, and we also have our moments of clarity. So just don't be hard on yourself, damn it. And don't let other people's influences, outside influences, really misdirect your path. It could be the worst thing for you if you live someone else's life, or you take their terrible advice because of their own insecurities, where they're not telling you why they made a mistake in the past, or just maybe they would prefer for you to fail as well. And so weird, where sometimes you need to walk alone and make that decision and stand behind it. But when you do come through on that decision, please do not go around and tell everyone, I told you so. They know. Best thing you do is take them out to dinner. Yeah, and then you just have a good time. But man, does it make you humble when you're in a position like this and you realize what you've accomplished. And it's not a pat on the back, it's to say, I've lived a beautiful life. I went outside when it was shining and I played all day.
Mhm.
And you can appreciate that in life. And so I think that having that with your entrepreneurs and businessmen, just have a nice plan, take it in small steps, listen to ideas and wiggle a little bit, but enjoy this ride. And if you do, I believe at every stage, you'll be successful. Yes.
Well, Richard, I'm glad you said it like that. 'Cause it's so inspirational. But a lot of things that you're saying you said is common sense is not really common sense to most people. Like they need to know the thoughts and actions that lead to success. We make the right choices, we do the right decisions at the right time. We will succeed. Like for instance, saving and reinvesting. How many people they just take on debt by just buying a car or just buying things that they don't need, just to impress their neighbors and everything. Like instead, if we invested in ourselves, we reinvested that money, like we could actually attain success. So it's like just like small things like that.
Your show is extra extraordinary America. I'm an extremely proud North American. Pay my taxes, family served in the military. I also like to believe that I'm representing our country in the best light. A businessman, bilingual businessman, paying taxes here, employing people, being a
Absolutely.
good kid. I mean, we all can't live in the United States. I mean, a lot of us move around, but financial freedom, let's be realistic. Living abroad, there might be certain places in this world where your money may go a little bit further. And so the cost of living in Costa Rica was less than the United States. And also living abroad, I had something called bona fide residency. Since I was outside the United States for 300 days a year, my company is from the United States. I was tax exempt for my first $110,000 right off the bat. That's beautiful. It's free money. And then if your wife's involved or other people, that's great. And so there's other benefits, but there's also sacrifices. I'm not close to you. My family's far away. I can't come visit you quick. But you think about those sort of things long term. Those sort of decisions enabled me to have that extra income as well to make these investments and expansions. And so maybe I do understand why people outsource, but don't look at me as the enemy, because I tell you what, there could be somebody in the United States that makes a better phone call than my agents. They should earn it. But then again, if it's inbound customer support where anybody can do it, unless they can do twice the amount of work because they're asking for twice the money, it doesn't make sense. But if it's offsetting that on merit through appointment setting, lead generation, or retention, it does make sense.
Mhm.
And so I'm open minded. I don't want to take people's jobs away. But then again, if Billy doesn't want to make phone calls and he's killing your office, what can you do? Or no one wants to come to work, or they look at telemarketing in a weird way. So that makes sense to some people. Business is business, and I have to respect that.
Totally.
And so when it comes to India and the Philippines and the East, and they ask me why they should do business with me when other places are less expensive, I make my arguments some ways, Spanish speaking closer to the States. If it's sales or marketing, I might offset that. But if I need to double or triple that work because of cost, it's impossible. And ethically, you can't take the account. And you shouldn't take accounts that you don't understand. Like I can't take a Chinese account. It's not that I don't want it, but I can't speak Chinese. I can understand Portuguese enough, but Spanish and English. And so I don't want somebody on the phone going rogue or doing something that I can't control. That's dangerous too. So you might, as an entrepreneur businessman, be selective of the business that comes in, A, so you can sleep at night, and B, you know you can fulfill their needs. You just don't want to take business just to pay your lights. You shouldn't be in that stage. Once again, do not compromise your ethics, values, and morals. Do the right thing and get the right business. You'll feel better about yourself. It's long term, if that makes any sort of sense.
No, it totally does, and I'm so glad that you're telling that, you know. And so, Richard, are there any other projects that you're working on that you'd want the audience to get a glimpse into?
Oh, absolutely. Now listen, I'm dating myself. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. We sponsored a local rock band down here, Igni Faroki. They've been around since 78, but they wrote a song for the call center, Shine Like the Sun. And then I parlayed that into having Gary Beers, the bassist from In Excess, play a performance video and work on that song with us a little bit too and play bass on it. So that was cool. And secondly, I'm working with local dancers and rap artists to create a rap video here at the call center, which should be coming out shortly. It's amazing what these young kids can do in regards to freestyle dancing. It's like the breakdancing back in the 80s with Beat Street and breaking, but not breaking too. But yeah, I mean, it's good stuff. And, you know, I like supporting the local arts. I like seeing these young kids express themselves. And if I can sponsor it and put a little money behind it, for not only the company, but to give them things to increase their careers outside the center. It's great. But you want to hear something interesting? I would have never known about this stuff unless, as a business owner, I asked people's their interests. I would have never known that these kids dance or one guy is a professional rapper. So instead of just walking by, making sure they're making their phone calls or I'm going to fire you, maybe not only know their name, but know a couple things about them. And so finding out these special talents, I just combined it everything, and that's how magic is made. And so, as I say, just ask a couple follow-up questions with people and see what's below the surface. And then maybe you might anchor and have that sort of relationship with that person that lasts.
No, totally, Richard. And Richard, how can our audience connect with you and get to know more about you and your work and everything you do? And if they wanted to contact you, like how would they do so?
I do appreciate that. They can buy a ticket and fly to Costa Rica and come visit me and hang out. Or you could shoot me an email at CEO@CostaRicasCallCenter.com. And, you know, if they mention your podcast and they're buddies with you, be more than happy to review their scripts, bounce ideas back and forth. I'm not going to close you. Don't worry. It's free. But if there's any way that I may assist, lend that hand and share some ideas, to do is pay it forward.
No, totally, Richard. I really appreciate that you made that offer, and I'm so glad that you took the time to come to this show and then share your invaluable wisdom around telemarketing and all of that, because it's so relevant to sales, you know, and how you speak to somebody on the phone is pretty important because sales is ultimately the lifeblood of any business, and so these things do matter. And I do hope that you take the time to come on the show at a later time.
I had the best time. You kidding me? This was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to conclude this episode by letting my fellow extraordinary Americans know that hey, look, there's an extraordinary within each and every one of us. It's our duty to awaken it and unleash it. Until next time, bye for now. Hey everyone, thank you for watching Extraordinary America. If you like what you see, please do subscribe to our podcast and share it with others. Remember that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is in your own financial education, for it is knowledge that truly sets us free. Also, remember that inflation is diluting your purchasing power, which in turn increases financial bondage. The practical thing to do is to protect the loss of your purchasing power and invest in precious metals or the right cryptocurrencies. Lastly, never forget that you are an extraordinary American. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.